Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here, making a video today to go over Update 29. Just wanted to give my first impressions. We're now, I believe, 4 days after the update, 3 or 4 days. Now, let's start with the first and most obvious thing I think everyone's noticed so far with Update 29, and that's lag. I really didn't want to make a video talking about it, but I feel I have to. I don't want to just ignore it because it's a big deal in the game right now. If you've played DDO since the newest update launched on, I believe it was Friday, you've surely noticed all the lag. The game is not in a very good state right now, performance-wise, and the developers really should be embarrassed about it. It's really, really bad, borderline unplayable right now, and it's disappointing for me personally because this update is the one I've looked the most forward to really since Menace of the Underdark. The Shroud is my favorite raid or quest in the entire game, and it's really bad that my first experience in Legendary Shroud started like this. I was in Meridia and I couldn't walk to the entrance to the raid because Meridia kept locking up from lag. And when I finally got to the entrance to the raid, I clicked to enter it and immediately crashed on the loading screen and had to restart my client. So that was a very fun introduction to Legendary Shroud. Sarcasm. Once I got in, though, it actually wasn't too laggy on my first run, but I think that's mainly because we had basically half a party. We had 6 or 7 players in there, and we were running it on normal. My second run, which is what you're seeing right now in the gameplay footage, was incredibly laggy the whole time. It was constant freezing, constant lag spikes. I'm frankly surprised we went as long as we did because it took well over an hour just to get to part 5. And when we finally got to part 5, it bugged out and we couldn't complete. Apparently, I still haven't experienced the new parts of the Shroud because of the lag, but apparently on part 5, there was an extra infight that was supposed to pop out and spawn, and it didn't. Our group sent in a ticket, waited over 10 minutes, got no response, so we had to abandon the run. So that's really disappointing. Not a fun start to Update 29 for me. There's also been a lot of abnormal lag in other areas of the game. Really, the whole server, on Thelanis at least. I haven't played on any of the other servers, but on Thelanis, I also noticed a lot of lag in the House D public area, a lot of lag in the Orchard Explorer area, so it's probably server-wide. Apparently, according to the developer comments on the forums recently in the past day or so, the major cause of the lag is repost items that are looping, apparently. That's what I understand. And they're kind of causing a continuous loop, which is clogging up the server memory, apparently. And the developers did a hot fix today, which supposedly is going to fix the lag, or fix, of course, I'm not saying lag's going to be fixed completely, but this abnormal amount of lag should be fixed after the hot fix today. I've not played DDO since the hot fix, so tonight I'll probably check it out and see if it's better. Hopefully that's what the cause is, and it's not something more in-depth, like something in the coding, like we saw with Deathworm for a long time. Something that's more complex than just one thing. Hopefully it's just the repost issue. Because of the lag, I haven't ran Legendary Tempest Spine or Hound yet, but I'm looking forward to running those when the servers are in a little better shape. I think the disappointing thing about the lag is I'm afraid that a lot of players who came back for this update, you have to remember that the Shroud is the most popular raid and the most successful raid in DDO ever, and I'm sure a lot of players came back for this update, and they probably logged in the first day or two when the update was live and experienced all this lag, and who knows if they're ever going to log back into the game again. So that's too bad. There's probably a lot of players who might have been returning on a regular basis who may not do that now because of the lag. There's some other bugs as well. Besides the lag, there are some description bugs on the new random loot system, so watch out for that. I know, according to developer posts on the forums, there are certain description errors, so the descriptions on your random loot may or may not be accurate. I would encourage you to, when you equip any piece of the new random loot, check your stats, check your saves, whatever it's affecting, check your damage to see if it's actually being applied, all those effects, because they may not be. Apparently there are some other bugs. There was a server rollback shortly after the update went live. If you don't know what a rollback is, it basically means they reset the server back to the point. They rolled it back, so they brought everyone's character back to the point at which it was when the update went live. But that was you probably weren't affected by that unless you logged into the game immediately after it went live. I believe it was, if someone please comment below if I'm wrong, but I believe that rollback happened just a few hours after the update hit live, and there hasn't been a rollback since that I'm aware of. You know, I applaud you guys for sticking with the game through this. Hopefully, as I said, there was a hotfix today. Hopefully this lag is fixed today, but the lag, it shouldn't be happening. It's unacceptable. When content's released, it should be released in a better state than this. There's really no excuse for it. And I hope the developers get on top of it as soon as possible. And I hope that once I log into DDO today, the lag is in a much better state. So that's enough about lag. That's enough ranting. Let's move on to the new random loot system and what I think of it so far. Now, I haven't played more than probably 5 to 10 hours since the new update, primarily because of the lag, but the random loot is something a lot of people are talking about. A lot of players are pretty nervous about it, and some are unhappy and voicing their opinions on the forums because players are claiming that it's really overpowered and that a lot of named loot and raid loot is becoming obsolete because of random loot. I've seen some very powerful stuff on the forums through screenshots, and I've one particular item, a longsword. I'll show it to you now. That's probably, you'll see it right now in the video. I'll throw it on the video. That's probably the most powerful thing I've seen, and that looks pretty ridiculous for an air savant. So I've seen some powerful stuff myself, and I've seen stuff posted on the forums, but I haven't had enough experience in the game yet. Again, I've only played 5 or 10 hours since the update went live, so I haven't had a conclusion yet. I just haven't had enough time, and I don't think anyone is going to be able to have a conclusion until we've had a significant amount of play time, maybe a month or so, for players to actually see what can be gathered in a reasonable amount of time. So in addition to that, remember these 3 other things. A lot of this stuff that people are claiming is overpowered with the random loot, remember, a lot of it is caster effects. A lot of the stuff on random loot is caster effects, and that's intentional. I know the team has actively they want to help casters in this update because they've gotten feedback that casters have fallen behind melees in the past year. And a lot of the random loot effects are reflecting that, and you can also see that reflected in the new level 29, level 30 feats. So this is intentional. They want to buff casters. Another thing with random loot, remember, it's random loot, so it's going to be rare to find the exact combination you want on the exact slot you want. So there's going to be a give and a take there. Even though you might find a really powerful item, it might be on a slot that's inconvenient. So just keep that in mind before you go all crazy claiming that it's overpowered. I'm not saying the system isn't overpowered. I'm just saying I don't have an opinion right now, and I think it's too early for people to be jumping to conclusions. And there's also many bugs right now, as I referenced before. I know there's some description errors on the loot, so an item that might, just from reading the wording on the item, the effects, it might not actually be that powerful. You might actually equip that item and see that it doesn't actually contain those effects. It might just be a description error, so keep that in mind. So as I said, for me, the jury is still out on the random loot, and as I play the next couple months, I'll be able to give a better review of it and I'll have a better indication of where it sits and if I'm happy with it or not happy with it. I can tell you though, I certainly don't want the new random loot to overpower raid loot. I think it's fine if it closes the gap, and I think that's definitely one of the goals here. I don't think the developers want this to overpower raid loot, but they definitely want to close the gap between random loot and raid loot. They don't want random loot to just be this thing that's ignored. I know for me, I hardly even bother getting random loot out of the chest or looking at it. They want you, every time you open a chest, they want that to be exciting. They want you to actually have a reason to look at every piece of loot, and certainly I can tell you that succeeded. I'm definitely looking at every piece of loot I pull out of a chest to see if it's something I want. So they've succeeded in that regard, but is it overpowered or not? I don't know. I don't have an opinion on that yet. We'll see after I have some more time to play. So again, guys, if you've been affected by the lag, let me know in a comment below, and just keep in mind they did do a hotfix today, so if you have been logged out of the game because of the lag, give it another shot today, and you'll hopefully have a better experience with the performance issues. That's all for this video, guys. Again, leave me your comments, tell me about your lag stories, and please post below if you've gotten any ridiculously, what you think are ridiculously powerful random loot items. I'm really interested in seeing what people are acquiring. So that's all for today, guys. I will see you next time. Take care, and may the lag not visit you tonight if you're playing.